The footage is grainy. A gas station in Lovingston, Virginia. The date stamp reads August 3rd, 2013. A 17-year-old girl walks toward the door. She has somewhere to be. A hair appointment in Lynchburg, a midnight curfew waiting for her at home. A man reaches the door first. He holds it open for her. He has a tattoo on his neck, dark ink, the kind you do not forget. She goes inside. She pays for gas. She walks back out into the heat. This is the last clear footage of Alexis Murphy alive. Watch the parking lot after she leaves. Her car does not turn toward Lynchburg. It pulls out behind the man's SUV and follows it the other way. 40 minutes from now, no one will know where she is. 6 days from now, her car will surface in a city she had no reason to visit, wiped clean of every clue. 7 years from now, her family will still be waiting for an answer that fits in a single sentence. 2 questions sit inside every frame of this last scene footage. Who is the man holding the door? And why does a girl driving north to get her hair done end up following a stranger south, toward a rundown camper on Route 29? August 3rd, 2013. A Saturday, hot, the tail end of summer before senior year. Alexis borrows her father's car and pulls out of the driveway around 7 o'clock in the evening. Lynchburg is a 40-minute drive. Get her hair done, drive back, home before midnight. That is the whole plan. She never reaches Lynchburg. Midnight comes. The curfew passes. No headlights in the driveway, no answer on her phone. The first hours of a missing teenager run on small, hopeful lies. She lost track of time. She stayed over with a friend. She will walk through the door any minute. By Sunday morning, the lie runs out. Her parents call the police and report her missing. And just like that, a hair appointment becomes a search that stretches across 2 counties. Her father does what any parent does. He calls her phone, then he calls it again. He keeps the line open like a door he refuses to lock. A local camera finds him in those first raw days, and he does not perform for it. He says the plain thing.
It's like my heart just been ripped out. My heart been ripped out. Someone called me, I'm like, I hope that's her. I look at my phone, hoping it's her. Even the days when she gone missing, I just kept calling her cell phone.
Every call goes to voicemail, but the phone itself is not silent. Somewhere it is still powered on, still reaching for a tower, still leaving a faint trail across a map. Hold that thought. It becomes the whole case. For 3 days, there is nothing. Then, on August 6th, the car turns up. Not in Lynchburg. Not anywhere near the road she said she was taking. Her father's car is sitting in a cinema parking lot in Charlottesville. A Carmike Cinemas lot, miles in the opposite direction from where she was headed. Someone drove it there and walked away. The car is clean. No note, no blood in the seats, no sign of where she went or who put it there. A search of a missing girl usually starts with her vehicle, and here the vehicle says nothing at all. But there is a camera on that lot. It watched the car pull in, and for one moment, it looks like the break the whole case needs, until the investigators actually play the tape. The camera caught the car. It did not catch a face. The driver is a shape, a smear of light. Nothing you could put in front of a jury. The trick where they zoom in and sharpen a blur into a name only works in movies, and this is not a movie. By now, this is no longer a small local story. The FBI steps in. On the news, a region already uneasy hears the timeline laid out.
It's been 6 days since Alexis Murphy disappeared from a gas station near Charlottesville.
The 17-year-old's car has since been found, but no sign of Alexis. Now, time is of the essence, and the FBI is hoping surveillance pictures will help speed up the search.
Surveillance pictures. That is the thread they pull next. With the car giving up nothing, investigators go back over the places Alexis moved through in her last hours. The stops a 17-year-old makes without thinking. One of them is a Liberty gas station in Lovingston, minutes from her own home. They ask for the footage. And there she is. Alexis walks in, pays for gas, walks out, ordinary, alive. The picture of a normal Saturday evening. Except she is not alone in the frame. A man reaches the door ahead of her and holds it open. Nothing about it looks wrong. A stranger being polite to a teenager on a hot night, and yet the cashier remembers this man clearly because of one detail no witness forgets. A cartoon inked into his neck. A Daffy Duck tattoo, sitting there in plain sight. He is driving an SUV. Someone writes that down. It does not mean anything yet. It is about to mean everything. The phone is what breaks it open. While the search spreads across 2 counties, The FBI is doing the quiet, patient work of tracing the signal Alexis left behind. Her cell phone kept pinging after she vanished, and a 17-year-old does not walk away from her phone on purpose. Follow the pings and they tighten, tower by tower, toward one point on the map, roughly a mile north of Lovingston. She never got far from home at all. The signal leads to a scrap of forgotten land off Route 29, a rundown property with a camper parked on it. Investigators move on to the land, and out in the brush, about 70 feet from the camper door, they find her phone, smashed, thrown away like it was the only thing that could talk. Someone lives in that camper. His name is Randy Taylor. They knock. They ask about a missing girl named Alexis Murphy, and Taylor gives them his first answer, delivered flat and easy. He has never heard of her, does not know the name, cannot help. The detectives keep talking, and while they talk, they look. The inside of the camper is filthy, and in the filth, small things start to surface. A diamond stud, the kind that comes from a pierced ear, a single, long, dark hair, a torn fingernail, a false eyelash, little pieces of a person scattered where they should not be. They bag it all and send it to a lab. The results come back and the floor drops out of Taylor's story. The stud, the hair, the nail, the eyelash, every one of them carries the DNA of Alexis Murphy. The girl he swore he had never met left pieces of herself all over his home. So they go back to the gas station footage, the last scene footage, and this time they watch what happens outside after Alexis pulls away. Her car does not head for the road home. It swings in behind an SUV and trails it out of the lot toward the north end of Lovingston, toward a camper on Route 29. The man who held the door, the man with the cartoon on his neck, the man in the SUV. All of it is Randy Taylor. They sit him down again. His first story is gone, so he reaches for a second. Now, the memory comes back to him. Now, he knew her after all. They got to chatting at the gas station, he says. She came back to his place. A few beers, a little marijuana, nothing more, and then she left, alive and fine, on her own 2 feet. But then he adds a name to save himself. She did not leave alone, he says. There was another man there that night, a black man, and Alexis drove off with him. The name Taylor hands the police is Damian Bradley. Go find him, he tells them. He is your guy. The police go and find Damian Bradley, and Bradley never met Alexis Murphy in his life. The weekend she vanished, he was miles away, in a motel with his girlfriend, with no car of his own to drive anywhere. His alibi holds up under every check they run. Bradley worked at a McDonald's that Taylor knew well, a face Taylor had seen behind a counter and decided to borrow. Randy Taylor did not just lie. He tried to hang a murder on an innocent stranger. The story is collapsing, and the search of the camper is not finished. They go back into that camper a second time, and this time they take it apart. Under the couch, pushed down out of sight, is a blue t-shirt. It is not clean. It is stained with blood, and the lab gives the blood a name, Alexis Murphy. Then they hold that shirt up against the gas station footage, the last footage of her alive, and the collar matches, the cut matches. It is the exact shirt Randy Taylor is wearing as he holds the door open for her. He kept it, he hid it. And rolled up inside it, tucked into the fabric, is one of Alexis's hair extensions. That is the moment the case stops being a question. A girl walks into a camper and leaves her blood on a man's shirt, and that shirt goes under his couch instead of into a fire. She followed him home on camera. Her phone died in the weeds 70 feet from his door. The math only works one way. There is more, and it speaks to the kind of man they are dealing with. In the camper, they find a scrapbook. Inside it, images of women with the faces cut away, and in place of those faces, pasted in, the face of a girl he knew from work, the daughter of a coworker. Earlier that same August day, before Alexis ever pulled into that gas station, Taylor had made a stop at an adult store. The pieces do not flatter him. They point, all of them, in one direction. Randy Taylor is arrested and charged with abduction, but there is still no body, and a family still has no daughter to bury. The investigators go back to his land again and again, digging, searching, coming up empty, while the cameras record every trip.
Investigators were back at Randy Taylor's home today. They were looking for clues into the abduction of Virginia teenager Alexis Murphy. Taylor's in jail, accused in her disappearance, but Murphy's still missing. Hers is the latest in a string of disappearances off Route 29 in Virginia.
As for that region, the number of disappearances are just astonishing. As one person familiar with the investigation told me, between documented abductions And missing persons who may or may not be runaways, there may be as many as 18 unsolved disappearances in that region over the past 2 decades.
18. That number sits over the whole region like weather. And as the search for Alexis drags on, the charge against Taylor grows to match what the evidence is screaming. Abduction becomes murder. A grand jury looks at what the investigators have built and agrees there is more than enough to put him on trial.
The return of indictments only means that the grand jury found probable cause exists for the charges that I mentioned and that Randy Taylor should go on trial for those charges.
The theory the prosecution will carry into court is grim and simple. Taylor drew Alexis in with the one thing a stranger could offer a teenager on a Saturday night, the promise of marijuana. She followed him back to the camper. And inside those walls, out of the reach of any camera, something violent happened to her. Something the charge itself would name as sexual. She went in, she did not come out. The rest, the exact minutes, the exact end, stayed locked behind a door only one man could open, and he had already decided to lie about all of it. The trial opens in May of 2014 and runs about a week. Prosecutor Anthony Martin does not need a confession because he has the camper. Piece by piece, he walks the jury through what Alexis left behind in that filthy space. The diamond stud from her ear, the torn fingernail, the false eyelash, the hair extension, and the blue shirt under the couch, wearing her blood. The same shirt Taylor wore while he held a door open for her on the last night anyone saw her alive. Her smashed phone in the brush, her car trailing his SUV on tape, a chain, link by link, with no gap wide enough to slip a doubt through. The defense reaches for the story Taylor already tried. A third man did this. Alexis left the camper alive with someone else. So the prosecution brings that someone else into the courtroom. Damian Bradley takes the stand as a hostile witness, and his alibi does not bend. He was far away, without a car, with a witness of his own, and he had never so much as met the girl he was accused of driving off with. That leaves Martin with one plain question for the jury, and he lets its weight do the work. If Alexis walked out of that camper alive and well, why did she walk out without her blood, without her hair, without her fingernail, without her earring, and without her phone? People do not leave those things behind. Bodies get moved without them. On May 8th, 2014, the jury returns. Guilty. First-degree murder and abduction with intent to defile. For a family that had spent 9 months calling a phone that never answered, the verdict lands like something close to relief.
But better. I'm not that I've ever won the lottery, but it was pretty amazing. Just felt like justice is served, and wherever Alexis is, she can be at peace now.
Randy Taylor was just sentenced to 2 life sentences for the murder and abduction of the Virginia teenager. Murphy was last seen in August of 2013.
No, I did not kill Alexis Murphy or hurt Alexis Murphy.
Do you know where she is?
No, sir, I do not.
And do you know what happened to her?
No, sir, I do not.
From the Albemarle Charlottesville Regional Jail, convicted killer Randy Taylor maintains his innocence relating to the abduction and murder of Alexis Murphy.
There's just too many things that haven't been told for me to be convicted of murder of Alexis Murphy. You can ask anybody that knows me, anybody in this jail, or anybody around here. I'm not an outspoken person. I'm not a violent person. I haven't been mean to nobody or disrespectful to anybody in here. It's what the Commonwealth's painted the story of me to be, and I'm not that person.
2 life sentences. And from inside his cell, Randy Taylor keeps saying the same thing to any camera that will point at him. Not me. Wrong man. He turns his own silence into a grievance, the things that haven't been told, as if the missing pieces were someone else's fault and not his to give.
There's still no justice. There's still no closure. Until Alexis is found or returned to her family, and I'm free of these charges, there's no closure here.
He was right about one thing only. Alexis had not been found. And even with him behind bars, the fear around him had not settled, because that September, 1 year after Alexis, another young woman vanished in the same corridor. Her name was Hannah Graham, 18 years old, gone from Charlottesville, the same city where Alexis's car had been dumped. Before her, in 2009, there had been Morgan Harrington, also taken near Charlottesville, also found murdered. The posters looked the same. The dread felt the same. And Alexis's family knew, better than anyone, what the Graham family was walking into.
Missing 18-year-old Hannah Graham, a poster much like the one we just saw a year ago for missing 17-year-old Alexis Murphy.
It's
It's really undescribable. Words have not yet been written or found to describe what it's like to wake up every morning and go to bed every night wondering where somebody that you love is and not having a clue.
Alexis's Aunt Trina Murphy says it was an instant sinking feeling in her stomach when she heard just 30 miles from where her niece disappeared last August, another teenage girl is now missing.
I know exactly where her family is right now.
That was Trina Murphy, Alexis's aunt. She knew exactly where that family was because she had never left that place herself. The man tied to Harrington and Graham was Jesse Matthew Jr., and a detail from Taylor's own lies suddenly turned cold. Remember the man Taylor invented? The black man he swore drove Alexis away. The description he had thrown out to save himself, a black man with dreadlocks or cornrows, matched Jesse Matthew. So the region asked the question no one wanted to ask out loud. Had they put the wrong man in a cell? Was Alexis part of something far larger, still moving up and down Route 29?
Sheriffs in Nelson County say they have a new person of interest in the disappearance of 17-year-old Alexis Murphy.
Now, Randy Taylor is already in jail. He's charged with her abduction. Taylor told his attorney that he met Alexis that night and put her in touch with another man so they could buy marijuana. While the man investigators are questioning fits his description.
DNA tests are now underway to determine whether the disappearance of 3 different women in the Charlottesville area could all be linked to Jesse Matthew Jr.
So they tested. They ran Jesse Matthews' DNA against everything pulled from that camper, and they waited for the answer that would either widen the case into a nightmare or close it for good.
Investigators say there's no link between missing Nelson County teen Alexis Murphy and Jesse Matthew Jr.
His DNA was nowhere in that camper, not a trace. The man Taylor tried to point at did not touch this crime. Jesse Matthew would go on to be convicted for Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham. But Alexis was not his. Alexis belonged to the case they had already proven. Randy Taylor acted alone, and the men he named were either innocent or invented. Cornered, convicted, out of stories, Taylor tried one last trade. Cut the 2 life sentences down to 20 years, he offered, and he would tell them where Alexis was and name a third man he claimed was involved. It was the closest he ever came to admitting he knew anything at all. The answer was no. No one was going to barter a girl's resting place for a shorter stay. He appealed his conviction twice, and both times the courts turned him down. And all the while, there was another family in Virginia holding a photograph and waiting, because Randy Taylor's name had come up in their story too. A 19-year-old named Samantha Clarke. Samantha left her family home in Orange, Virginia, in the middle of the night in September of 2010, taking nothing, telling no one where she was going. Phone records showed that Randy Taylor was among the last people she ever spoke to. On the day she vanished, he had called the Clarke household 6 times. He had been folded into her circle of friends only shortly before she disappeared.
Samantha Ann Clarke is still missing.
We just pray she comes home.
When Taylor was arrested for Alexis, investigators in Orange County turned back towards Samantha's case with fresh eyes and a name they now understood. It would take years and better forensic tools, but the ground under her case finally shifted.
Due to new information and advances in investigative and forensic technology, Samantha's missing person investigation has been reclassified as an active abduction and murder investigation.
A missing person no longer, an active murder case. The wording is bureaucratic, and still it carries a verdict inside it. Somebody did something to Samantha Clarke, and the law had finally decided to say so. For 7 years, Alexis Murphy was a conviction without a homecoming. A killer in prison, a family with an empty chair, and a search that, by choice, never officially stopped. They kept walking the fields off Route 29. They kept the promise they had made in the first days, out loud, in 2013, bring her home. Then, on December 3rd, 2020, the ground gave her back. Her remains were found on private property near Stagebridge Road, along that same Route 29 in Lovingston, 5 miles from the gas station where she was last seen alive. She had been that close the entire time.
Bring Alexis home. It just means the world to us, and please keep us in your thoughts and prayers. And so thank you all for being here to spread the news that Alexis is being brought home. So.
Authorities have found and identified the body of Alexis Murphy. She is the teen who disappeared in Nelson County more than 7 years ago. Massive search effort never officially stopped.
In a statement, Murphy's family said, quote, "Our family is so grateful for the continuing love, support, and prayers for Alexis and our family over the past 7 years. We were blessed to have her for 17 years, and her memory will continue to live on through us all."
The medical examiner confirmed it in February of 2021. Investigators held the announcement back for a while, on purpose, to give her mother and father the one thing the last 7 years had denied them, a chance to grieve in private and to lay her to rest before the cameras came. When the family finally spoke, they did not aim a word at the man in the cell. They spoke to the searchers and the neighbors and the strangers who had refused to quit. "You kept the promise," they said. "The promise from 2013. You brought Alexis home. She was 17, a senior at Nelson County High School, a star on the volleyball court, the one who made a room laugh, the one always filming, always mid-joke. She left the house on a hot Saturday to get her hair done, with a curfew to keep and a whole life stacked up in front of her. What she met on Route 29 was a man who held a door open so she would not see the shape of him until it was too late. And somewhere in Virginia, Samantha Clarke is still out there. Her family still says the same words Alexis's family once said, bring her home. That case is open now, alive, still moving toward an answer. The lesson in this last scene footage is small and hard. The man in the frame did the ordinary, mannerly thing. He held the door. Trust reads like courtesy, right up until it doesn't. And there is no camera that can enhance a stranger's intentions into something you can see. What brought Alexis back was not a confession. It was a phone that would not stop pinging, a shirt he could not bring himself to burn, and a family that would not stop searching a 5-mile stretch of road for 7 years until the ground finally answered. They said they would bring her home. They did.
But I'm trusting you guys, like, with my life, because, I mean, this is 70 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do. Man, are you busy right now? Can you guys do anything? Because I need your, the blood. I'm going to throw it in the water. They'll never find me.
You hear him before you see him. A teenage boy in a car. Voice low, calm, almost bored. He is talking about how to get rid of a murder weapon. He says the river will take it. He says they will never find it. He says this is not too bad, man. He just needs to cross the street and throw it in the water and be done. And the two friends sitting beside him in that car, the friends he says he trusts with his life, they are nodding. They are agreeing. They are wearing police wires. 16-year-old Emma Walker had been dead for less than 48 hours. She was shot through her bedroom wall in the dead of night. She was sleeping. She never woke up. And the boy who pulled that trigger had spent the next 2 days attending her vigil, posting tributes on social media, and telling anyone who would listen that he had absolutely nothing to do with her death. His name is William Riley Gall. He was her boyfriend. He was 17 years old. And on this night, in this car, heading toward a river with a gun wrapped in a bag, he was about to find out that the two friends he trusted most in the world had already handed him to the police. This is what obsession looks like when it runs out of options. This is the story of Emma Walker. Central High School, Knoxville, Tennessee. Autumn 2014. The Friday night lights are on, the bleachers are packed, the Bobcats are on the field, and the cheerleaders are in formation, and the whole town is exactly where it wants to be, loud, together, alive with the particular electricity of a high school football night in the American South. In the autumn of 2014, there is a new cheerleader on the squad, 14-year-old Emma Walker, the only freshman to make the team that year. People who knew Emma used the same words over and over: passionate, spirited, fun, an infectious smile. She throws herself into cheerleading the way she throws herself into everything completely, without reserve. Like she has already decided this is exactly where she belongs. She is 14, she is magnetic, and one evening on that sideline, she catches the eye of a 16-year-old wide receiver named William Riley Gall. Riley is everything you would expect from the boy who notices her. Popular, a top student, a member of the community church. His friends say he is funny, a bit of a joker, not the stereotypical jock type at all. He is charming. He is attentive. He breaks off an existing relationship to pursue Emma, and very quickly, the football star and the cheerleader become the couple that everyone at Central High seems to want to be. Emma's parents, Mark and Jill Walker, meet Riley and find him perfectly pleasant. Polite, they say. Well-mannered, the boy next door. Emma's social media fills with photos of the two of them loving shots, silly selfies, the ordinary beautiful evidence of a teenage romance. But Emma's friends find it harder to warm to Riley. He keeps to himself. He is difficult to get to know. At first, they chalk this up to shyness. They tell themselves he is just reserved. They give him the benefit of the doubt. They will stop doing that. As the months pass, something shifts. Riley does not want Emma engaging with anyone who is not him. He monitors her friendships. He questions her constantly. He creates small scenes and then apologizes beautifully. And Emma forgives him, and then it starts again. Her friends notice. They voice their concerns. Emma brushes them off. She tells them they do not need to worry. But the truth is that Riley is already becoming something that no one around Emma has a name for yet. He sends message after message. He calls constantly. He waits outside her workplace for hours. He tells her she is dead to him, then tells her he loves her more than words can describe. He breaks up with her and makes the reconciliation feel like her rescue. He gives her a secret iPod Touch when her parents confiscate her phone so that she can text him through the Wi-Fi without anyone knowing. He isolates her, slowly, from the people who might pull her back. Emma's parents try to put a stop to it. They tell Emma to end it. They take her phone. They have the arguments that parents have when they can see a danger their child refuses to see. Jill Walker later says that Riley had a way of making Emma feel like he was the only one. The more they told her to break it off, the more they all butted heads. For 2 years, Emma and Riley cycle through the same pattern. They break up, they get back together. Each breakup is more dramatic than the last. Emma's friends watch it happen and feel helpless. By the autumn of 2016, Riley has graduated and is now a freshman at Maryville College, about 30 minutes away. Emma is 16. In her junior year, her parents, in a desperate move to reclaim some peace, ground her. They monitor where she goes and who she speaks to. And to their surprise and relief, it seems to work. Her father, Mark, says she is like her old self again, spending time with the family, laughing at dinner, present in a way she has not been for months. Emma texts her friend Keegan. She is done with Riley for good, she says. She has seen pictures of him with other girls at college. She is done. Keegan and Emma's other friends breathe for what feels like the first time in 2 years. It will not last. Friday, November the 18th, 2016. Emma is allowed out for the evening to a gathering at a friend's house. She is 16 and grounded and happy to be somewhere that is not her bedroom. She is talking and laughing and feeling, for the first time in a long time, like herself. Then her phone lights up. Unknown number. A message. Come outside alone. If you do not want to see a loved one get hurt, go to your car with your keys. If you do not comply, I will hurt them. Emma thinks it is one of Riley's friends pulling a prank. She texts back, threatening to call the police. The number replies. The messages get darker. Then a new one arrives. Riley has been dropped outside the house. Emma and her friend Zach run outside, and sure enough, there is a figure lying face down in a ditch near the house, holding his head, confused. Riley? He says he was kidnapped. He says he does not know how he got there. Emma is crying. She tells him they have broken up and he needs to leave her alone. And Riley, dejected, walks off down the street alone. Emma stays with her friends that night. She does not want to go home. The whole thing has left her unsettled in a way she cannot quite explain. She does not know yet that she staged this herself. She does not know that the fake kidnapping, the unknown number, the figure in the ditch, all of it was Riley. A performance, designed to make himself seem vulnerable, designed to make her need him again. Emma's friend Haley already suspects this. She has seen Riley's car parked nearby. She texts him directly and asks what he was doing lurking around the area. Riley denies it. He is very good at denying things. The following morning, just after 10 a.m., Emma drives home. She and Haley spot a man dressed all in black walking along her street. Emma drops Haley off and heads back to her own house. She is getting ready inside, planning to meet her mother, when the doorbell rings. And rings again. The man in black is back. He is banging on the door. Emma is frantic. She texts her friends. And then she does the thing that Riley has spent 2 years engineering. She turns to the one person she believes will rescue her. She texts Riley. I hate you, she says, but I need you right now. He replies immediately. He is speeding over to help her, he says. By the time he arrives, the man in black has gone. Jill Walker comes home to find Emma and Riley talking in the front yard. Jill reminds Riley he is not allowed near the house. She tells him to leave. Emma tells her mother she does not think Riley has anything to do with what is happening. She believes the threats are real. She believes someone out there wants to harm her family. The man in black, the unknown number, the figure in the ditch. It was all Riley. Jill Walker knows it. She can feel it, but she cannot prove it. And Emma is too close to see it clearly. Sunday, November the 20th, 2016. The Walker house is quiet, normal. Emma talks to her friend Keegan about a school assignment. She heads to bed just after midnight. Just after midnight, 30 minutes away in Maryville, Riley Gall borrows his roommate's phone. He calls Emma. He later claims that during this call, Emma tells him she has no interest in getting back together with him. The conversation ends, and then Riley sends her text after text. He calls around 40 times. He leaves voicemails. Emma does not respond, and eventually, he stops. Around 2:30 a.m., while Emma Walker sleeps in her room, someone stands outside her window in the dark. They are dressed in black. They are 4 or 5 feet from the glass. They raise a gun. They fire. 2 shots. One bullet hits Emma behind her left ear. One lodges in her pillow. The shots are fired so precisely, so deliberately aimed at head height through the wall, that whoever fired them knew exactly where Emma would be lying. Emma does not wake up. She never will. Around 6 a.m., Jill Walker goes into her daughter's room to wake her for school. Emma does not move when Jill says her name. She does not move when Jill touches her leg. When Jill looks at her daughter's face, she sees pale skin and blue lips and the total absence of anything she recognizes as her child. Jill checks for a pulse. There is nothing. Jill Walker calls 911.
Where is your emergency?
I'm Jill Walker!
What's going on there?
I just tried to wake up my daughter for school, and she has no pulse.
How old is she?
She's 16.
You said that she's non-responsive?
Yeah.
Her voice is the sound of a parent's world ending in real time. The dispatcher is asking questions that Jill Walker should not have to answer. My daughter has no pulse, she says. She is 16. 16-year-old Emma Walker was dead. Police arrive at the Walker house within minutes. They find Emma in her room. There is a small amount of blood near her mouth. Initially, officers consider that she may have ingested something. The cause of death is not immediately obvious. And then someone notices a small hole in the wall of Emma's bedroom, a bullet hole. They walk outside. They circle the house. They find a second hole, at approximately the same height as the first, also aimed directly at Emma's bed. 2 shell casings on the ground outside, shot placement so exact that it could not have been accidental, could not have been random, could not have been anything other than someone who knew this house, knew this room, and knew where Emma would be. Investigators begin making calls, and within the first few hours of the investigation, the same name keeps surfacing, over and over, from every direction. Riley Gall. Friends of Riley come forward almost immediately. They tell detectives things that have been sitting on their conscience since Emma's body was found. Riley had taken his grandfather's handgun, claiming he needed it for protection after his alleged kidnapping. He had shown the gun to his friend Alex. He had asked his friend Noah how to remove fingerprints from a firearm, claiming he was asking on behalf of his roommate. The day before Emma was shot, Riley's grandfather reported that very gun as stolen, and Riley has asked both Noah and Alex to help him get rid of it. In the Tennessee River, where, he assures them, it will never be found. Detectives bring Riley in for questioning. What follows is one of the more chilling interrogation recordings in this case, not because Riley breaks down, not because he confesses, but because of how completely unmoved he appears to be. He is evasive, he is rehearsed, he calls Emma the girl. He cannot bring himself, or will not allow himself, to say her name.
The girl, she texted me.
Which girl?
The one that passed away.
Okay. What's her name?
Emma.
The detective has to prompt him. Which girl, he asks, the one that passed away. And Riley corrects himself, flatly. Emma, the word lands with no weight whatsoever.
If I told you someone told us that they saw you with a gun, what would you think about that?
I would wonder who said that and where they saw me with the gun.
Alex McCarty said that you showed him a handgun. Where is the gun?
I do not know.
You understand, though, for us, Alex has no reason to lie about something like that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I don't know where it's at.
He said that you showed him the gun. You told him that you had it, And you told him that you got it from your granddad?
Don't have the gun. I don't know why he would say that.
Did you ever remember having a conversation with Noah about getting fingerprints off a gun? How do you get fingerprints off a gun?
No.
When detectives confront Riley about the gun, about what Alex and Noah have already told them, he denies everything. He does not know where the gun is. He does not know why Alex would say that. He does not remember asking Noah about fingerprints. Detective to Riley: what if I told you someone told us they saw you with a gun? Riley: I would wonder who said that and where. They saw me with a gun. Detective: Alex McCarty said you showed him a handgun. Riley: where's the gun? I did not know. It is a performance. And detectives can see it, but seeing something and proving it in court are two very different things. Riley walks out of the station that day without an arrest. The moment he is outside, he texts Noah and Alex. Do not talk to the police, he tells them. Delete my messages. What Riley does not know is that Noah and Alex never stopped talking to the police. They contacted detectives the moment they found out Emma was dead. And now, sitting with investigators, they make a decision that will cost them their friendship and their safety, and will mean living with the weight of what they know, but it will also mean that Emma Walker gets justice. They agree to go back to Riley, they agree to help him dispose of the gun, and when they do it, they will be wearing wires. Alex McCarty, speaking about why he made that call, says, I was not fearful for my safety. I was fearful that justice could not be done if we made the wrong move. Teenage boys, doing what the system needed them to do because a girl they knew was dead and someone they trusted had done it. Detectives brief Noah and Alex on the plan. They will wear wires and body cameras. They will agree to help Riley dispose of the gun in the Tennessee River. When Riley produces the weapon, they will send a code word, and police waiting nearby will move in. It is a textbook undercover operation, except it is being run through two teenagers who are about to sit in a car with the boy who shot their schoolmate. It is evening, Knoxville, Tennessee. Riley Gall sits in the back seat of a car with Noah and Alex. He does not know that every word he says is being recorded. He does not know that a team of police officers is staged nearby, waiting for a single text message. He does not know that the two people sitting closest to him in the world right now are the reason he is about to spend the rest of his life in a cage. What he knows is that he has a gun to get rid of, and he trusts these boys with his life. He says that out loud.
But I'm trusting you guys, with my life, because, this is 70 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do. Man, are you busy right now? Can you guys do anything? Because I need to get rid of the gun. And the blood? I'm going to throw it in the water. They'll never find it. We can go on that. The smaller ledge that really looks out of the water. You know what I'm talking about. I do. Yeah. And if I throw it with enough force, I know it's terrifying. I know this. You guys don't have to come with me if you don't want to. I'm not too bad, man. I just need to come to you. If it's in the Tennessee River, they will never find it. I know that much. And how would I know it wasn't my grandfather's gun? His magazine had 5 shots in total when I first got it. Still has 5 shots in it. If I actually gave him that gun, that's maybe it's 50-50. It may give them reason to say, okay, the fingerprints on this gun and this bullet don't match, cool. But at the same time, they could have never had fingerprints in the first place and be like, oh, and it's just this bullet. This Lovingston is stupid comment. This bullet fits in this magazine fits in this gun.
Listen to him. He is not panicked. He is not grieving. He is logistics. He is problem solving. He talks about the river, about throwing it with enough force, about the blood meaning the evidence, and about how they will never find it. He talks about the magazine. He talks about fingerprints. He says this bullet fits in this magazine, and this magazine fits in this gun, and this is, he says, a stupid comment he probably should not have made. He is sitting in a car with a murder weapon. He is explaining, in his own voice, how he plans to make it disappear. He is saying that if he hands the gun back to his grandfather, the fingerprints on it might give the police enough to connect the bullet to the gun. He is doing the forensic calculus out loud. He is telling 2 boys he believes are his closest friends exactly how much he has thought about this. He never once says Emma's name.
Success? It's a bag of trash. I just threw it in there. I don't know what's in there. I just want to throw it and be done.
Oh my God. What? This is a real gun.
They are moving now, heading toward the Tennessee River. Riley calls the gun a bag of trash. Success, he says, when they arrive. I just want to throw it and be done. And then, as Riley pulls the gun out and raises his arm toward the water, the code word goes out.
Everybody put your hands out of the vehicle now! What the
Oh my God, man.
What the Leave your hands out of the vehicle! Step out of the vehicle!
Everybody put your hands out of the vehicle now. What follows is not the composed, rehearsed Riley Gall from the interrogation room. What follows is a boy realizing, in the space of 1 second, that everything he thought he had controlled has come apart completely. The friends he trusted, the plan he believed was working, the gun he thought would disappear into the river forever. None of it worked. None of it ever had a chance of working. 48 hours after Emma Walker was found dead in her bed, her killer is in handcuffs at the edge of the Tennessee River. In the boot of Riley's car, police find black clothing and black shoes, the same clothing Emma's friend Haley had described when she spotted the man lurking outside the Walker house 2 days before the shooting. The man who rang the doorbell and banged on the door. The man Emma was so frightened of that she texted Riley, the person she said she hated, and begged him to come and save her. Riley had created the threat. And then he had ridden in as the solution. And when that did not work, when Emma still would not come back to him, when she still did not need him the way he had engineered her to need him, he stood 4 feet from her bedroom window at 3 o'clock in the morning, in the dark, dressed in black, and he fired. The prosecution would later say that shot placement tells you everything. He did not fire into the air. He did not fire through a window to shatter glass and cause panic. He aimed at head height. He aimed at the exact position where Emma would be sleeping. He fired twice. 1 bullet found her. That is not recklessness. That is not a scare tactic. That is intent. Riley Gall is charged with the first-degree murder of Emma Walker. The community reacts the way communities do when something impossible happens to someone everyone knows. Shock, grief, a candlelight vigil at Central High School. Emma's fellow cheerleaders release balloons at that week's football game. Her locker becomes a shrine. The bleachers are full of people who cannot understand how the boy they saw at every game, the boy they liked, the boy next door, could have done this. But Jill Walker understands. She has understood for a long time. She just could not make her daughter see it before it was too late. And that is a weight she will carry forever, not guilt, because this was never her fault, but grief for all the moments she tried and the one outcome she could not prevent. Emma Walker was 16 years old. She wanted to be a neonatal nurse. She loved animals. She was the only freshman to make the cheerleading squad. She had a smile that people remember before they remember anything else about her. She is gone. And now, it is time for the law to reckon with the boy who took her. The trial of William Riley Gall begins in 2018. By then, Riley is 19. He sits in a courtroom where Emma's mother has to take the stand first and describe, in front of a jury and a press gallery, and the boy who killed her daughter, everything she found that morning in Emma's room.
Opening arguments began today in the first-degree murder trial.
Our Ann Brock was there today. A lot of emotion surrounding this case. Some tough talk, though, as well, about evidence and patterns of behavior. You picked it all up, Ann.
Absolutely. Emotional, of course, as a mother had to be the first witness to take the stand and describe so much surrounding her daughter's death. But both sides in this case really dug in, trying to show behavior patterns. The defense trying to bring out details of how this teenage girl you see pictured behind me was defying her parents, even when they didn't want her around her boyfriend, trying to show that while he was what the defense attorney even called obsessive in his behavior, he did not intend to harm her. Now, prosecutors are trying to show that Gall was stalking his former girlfriend, even planning to harm her. They're pointing to evidence from the gun they say Riley stole from his grandfather to having a bag full of black clothes and gloves in a garbage bag. Police collecting these things when they arrested him.
The news anchors outside the courthouse set the scene, opening arguments. Both sides dig in. The prosecution points to the pattern: 2 years of controlling behavior, the fake kidnapping, the cell phone data placing Riley in the vicinity of the Walker house at 3 a.m., the gun belonging to his grandfather, the black clothing found in his car, and the wire recording in which he describes, in his own words, the forensic math of getting away with murder. The defense has a different theory.
So, submit to you that after you've heard all the evidence, and as I told you in the very beginning of this trial, you will hear some bizarre reckless conduct regarding my teenage client. That everything that they say about premeditation to kill Emma Walker is consistent with him trying to scare her. Because if you scare her, maybe she'll come have contact with you, and therefore you can try to rehabilitate your relationship. I'm not saying it's logical. Do not think that I submit to you that there's any logic in any of this, because it's not logical. None of it is. But it is consistent with the facts as we know them from the witnesses. It's consistent with the facts as we know them from the 18th. And it's consistent with how Emma reached out to him on the 19th. Asked him to rescue her.
Riley's defense attorney argues that this was not murder, that what Riley did that night was reckless and illogical, the desperate act of a lovesick teenager who wanted to scare Emma badly enough that she would reach out to him. The defense contends that Riley fired into the wall without the intention of hitting anyone, that he fired to create panic, not to kill, that this is a tragedy, yes, but not a murder. The argument lands with a particular kind of chill because on one level it sounds almost plausible. A teenager in the grip of obsession, not calculating a homicide but fumbling toward manipulation with catastrophic consequences. The defense wants the jury to see a boy who made an unfathomable mistake, a boy who did not mean it. But the prosecution is not finished. The evidence is clear on the cell phone data. Riley's phone puts him in Maryville when he claims to be in Maryville. And then it puts him on the freeway heading toward Knoxville, just after midnight. And then it puts him in the vicinity of the Walker house at around 3 a.m., the exact window when Emma was killed. He lied about his alibi. He lied about the gun. He lied in the interrogation room while referring to the girl he supposedly loved as the girl, without her name, without a flinch. And then there is the wire. A boy who only wanted to scare someone does not spend 48 hours calculating how to erase fingerprints from a magazine and throw a firearm into a river deep enough that they will never find it. A boy who pulled a trigger by accident does not send his friends a text message the moment he leaves the police station, telling them to delete his messages and stop talking to detectives. And a boy who only wanted to scare someone does not fire at head height through a wall he knows is 4 feet from where a 16-year-old girl is sleeping.
But she was their light. And they're blessed that they got 16 years with her. And they can look at it that way and live the rest of their lives knowing at least we got that. But they'll always be muted. You could sense that from them when they took the stand. Each one of them has suffered a loss at the hands of him. This guy, his personal responsibility, his actions, everything that he did, caused them to suffer, and every person in here who she touched in their lives will never be the same again because of him and his selfishness and his lies and his possessiveness and his manipulation and his obsessiveness of Emma Walker. She's creating this fictitious, this bogus kidnapping story to upset her. When you think about the fact that 3 o'clock in the morning, dressed in black, he's standing outside a 16-year-old girl's bedroom, and you think of all the places he could have placed that shot. All the things that he could have done. Shoot up into the air, shoot in through the window, anywhere, but where you shot. Shot placement shows you an intent to kill.
Mr. Gilder, has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Will you please stand? Mr. Gall, please stand. Mr. Gilder, in count 1, the first defined offense charging the defendant with first-degree murder, did the jury reach a verdict?
Yes, we did.
What is your verdict?
Guilty.
And for the lesser included offense of stalking, did the jury reach a verdict?
We did.
What is your verdict?
Guilty.
The prosecutor's closing argument is methodical and devastating. She walks the jury through what they know: the possessiveness, the manipulation, the fake kidnapping, the isolation, the lies. She talks about Emma's parents, who took the stand and could barely hold themselves together, and about every person in that courtroom who will never be the same because of what Riley Gall chose to do. She talks about shot placement. 3 o'clock in the morning, dressed in black, outside a 16-year-old girl's bedroom. He could have fired into the air. He could have fired through the window to shatter glass. He could have fired anywhere but where he fired. But he placed that shot at exactly the height, exactly the angle, exactly the position that would guarantee it found Emma. Shot placement, the prosecutor tells the jury, shows you an intent to kill. The jury takes it in. The judge calls the court to order. Mr. Gilmer, has the jury reached a verdict? Yes, sir, we have. Will you please stand? In the state of Tennessee, in the matter of the state versus William Riley Gall, in count 1, the first-degree offense, charging the defendant with first-degree murder, what is your verdict? Guilty. And for the lesser-included offense of stalking, what is your verdict? Guilty. The jury finds William Riley Gall guilty of the first-degree murder of Emma Walker. Guilty also of stalking. Guilty of theft, reckless endangerment, and being in possession of a firearm during a dangerous felony. In the state of Tennessee, a first-degree murder conviction carries an automatic life sentence. Riley Gall is sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 51 years before he can even be considered for parole. He will be in his 70s before that conversation can begin. Emma Walker will be 16 forever. But before sentencing, Riley is allowed to speak.
I know that nothing I can do will ever bring Emma back or alleviate the pain that I caused. But what I can do is tell the truth of what happened that night. My intentions were not, and never have been, to cause Emma any physical harm. At times, I was a terrible boyfriend. I caused her emotional and psychological pain during the 2 years that we were together. But I never once even imagined to cause her any physical harm. My intentions that night were never to harm Emma, let alone take her life. I wanted to scare her, to frighten her so bad that she would have no choice but to talk to me again, to confide in me. I would be there to comfort her and to win her back.
He says he knows that nothing he can do will ever bring Emma back or alleviate the pain he caused. He says his intentions were not, and never have been, to cause Emma any physical harm. He says he was, at times, a terrible boyfriend. He says he caused her emotional and psychological pain. And then he says this. He says he wanted to scare her. He says he wanted to frighten her so badly that she would have no choice but to talk to him again. He says he would have been there to comfort her. He says he would have won her back. He says his intentions that night were never to harm her, let alone take her life. The jury has already decided what his intentions were. The gun in his hands at 3 a.m. said everything his words would not. In May 2021, Riley's attorneys file a motion seeking an acquittal on the grounds of insufficient evidence. When that fails, they seek a new trial. A hearing is set for June 4th, 2021. That request is also denied. His attorney announces plans to appeal. The legal process grinds forward, as it always does, as Emma Walker's family watches from the other side of it. Emma Walker should have graduated from Central High School in May of 2018. Her family attended the ceremony. Her parents accepted her diploma. Her cap and gown were laid out on the chair she would have been sitting in. Her classmates crossed the stage around an absence that none of them could stop noticing. Her high school has a scholarship in her name. The Walker family has had a dog park named after Emma because she loved animals the way she loved everything completely and without reservation. At East Tennessee Children's Hospital, there is a neonatal intensive care unit patient room bearing her name because Emma Walker wanted to be a nurse who helped the smallest, most fragile lives. She did not get to do that work herself, but her name is on the door of the room where that work happens every single day. Jill Walker says she hopes people remember Emma by channeling her energy, by choosing, in the small moments that do not seem to matter, to be kind. Emma had an infectious smile and a spirit that everyone around her felt. She was passionate and spirited and fun, and she was 16 years old, and she deserved every single year that was taken from her. 2 teenage boys put on police wires and sat in a car with a murderer because they knew the difference between what was easy and what was right. Alex McCarty was not afraid for his safety, he said. He was afraid that justice could not be done if they made the wrong move. They did not make the wrong move. They made the only move that mattered. A mother went into her daughter's room on a Monday morning in November to wake her up for school. She said her name, she touched her leg, she looked at her face, and she made the call that no parent should ever have to make. Jill Walker did everything right. She saw the danger, she named it, she fought it. The danger won anyway, the way it sometimes does, because a controlling boy with access to a gun decided that if he could not have Emma Walker's love, he would take her life instead. Emma Walker was 16 years old. She was the only freshman to make the cheerleading squad. She had an infectious smile. She adored being in that environment. She texted her friends about a school assignment before she went to bed. She never woke up, but she is remembered. In the scholarship, in the hospital room, in the dog park, in the people who loved her and who carry her forward every single day into a world she no longer gets to live in. That is what she left behind, and that is what he could never take. Monday morning, Norfolk, Virginia, 8:15. Angelica Hadsell returns home to begin spring break. Everyone calls her AJ. She is 18 years old. She has less than 24 hours left to live. Because Wesley Hadsell, 38, her adoptive father, a convicted criminal with a 2-decade-long criminal record, is waiting for her. By nightfall, her truck will sit untouched in the driveway. Her jacket will hang in the closet. Her wallet will sit on the dresser, exactly where she left it. And on the kitchen table, a note in handwriting that looks like hers. Words that will haunt her mother for the rest of her life. What happens between 8:15 this morning and this time tomorrow will take investigators 7 years to untangle. It ends with a body in a ditch near the North Carolina line. A wrongly accused neighbor, a threat left on a doorstep, a jury that needs less than 1 hour to reach a verdict. Norfolk, Virginia, a Navy town on the edge of the Chesapeake Bay. The largest naval base on Earth sits at its waterline, and the whole city runs on the rhythm of ships and shifts and men who come home in uniform. It is a place built on order, on chains of command, on knowing exactly where everyone is supposed to be. On Friday, February 27th, 2015, Angelica Hadsell comes home. She is a freshman at Longwood University, 3 hours west in Farmville. She drives back for spring break the way college kids do, dropping her bag by the door, folding herself back into the shape of the family she left in the fall. Her mother, Jennifer, is glad to have her. The younger siblings orbit her the way younger siblings do. The weekend is small and ordinary and good. Shopping, laughing, a little sister time. She is due to stay the week. Then Monday comes. Monday, March 2nd. The morning is nothing. Jennifer sees her daughter around 7, moving through the house, alive and present and unremarkable, before she leaves for work. That is the last time Jennifer will ever see her. The house empties out in the way houses do on a weekday. People come, people go. And somewhere in the middle of that ordinary hour, Angelica is alone with her music and her laundry. Picture it. The speakers are on. A basket of clean clothes waits on the bed. She folds. She smooths. She reaches for the next shirt. She never picks it up. When the family drifts back home that evening, the scene stops them cold. The music is still playing. The laundry is frozen halfway through the task, as if she stepped out for a second and simply forgot to come back. But the seconds stretch into an hour, then into the dark. Her jacket is here. Her wallet is here. Her truck is here. A girl does not walk away from her own life without the keys to it, yet some of her clothes are gone, and on the table sits that note, written in a voice the family does not recognize. Flat, heavy, almost final. With everything going on, it is a lot to deal with. Her sister says it plainly. That does not sound like AJ, because it does not. AJ is stressed, sure. College is hard. She has been getting migraines. She broke up with a boyfriend not long ago. But she is not the girl in that note. She is not drowning. She is finding her footing 3 hours from home and calling it a life. The next day, Tuesday, a text arrives on Jennifer's phone. It says she is okay. It says she is not ready to come home yet. A mother reads those words and feels the ground tilt, because the words are right and the voice is wrong.
This is like a horrible nightmare that I feel like I should be waking up from at any moment.
It's been 4 long days for Jennifer Hadsell.
I do believe that she is safe.
18-year-old AJ was home on spring break from Longwood University in Farmville. And while she told family she was stressed out, Mom says this behavior is far from normal.
She's a freshman at college. She moved away from home. You know, just your normal everyday life stresses.
Jennifer heard from AJ by text message for the last time Tuesday morning. She wrote that she was okay, but not ready to return home. But the question remains, was it AJ or someone else on the other end of the phone?
Some of the things that were said were just, they were not her. They were off.
She heard from her daughter one last time by text that Tuesday morning. Okay, but not ready to return home. And a question begins to grow in the space between the letters. A question that will haunt this entire case. Was it AJ on the other end of that phone? Or was it someone else, holding the phone, choosing the words, keeping a mother calm while the hours ran out? That night, Tuesday, March 3rd, at 15 minutes past 9 in the evening, Angelica Hadsell is reported missing. At first, there is no sign of foul play. No broken glass, no blood, no struggle a stranger could read. Just a girl who was there 1 minute and gone the next, and a note that says the right things in the wrong voice. Police log it. They start with the softest version of the story, a stressed college kid who needed some air. But the family knows the truth is harder than that. They can feel it in the half-folded laundry. They can feel it in the music that kept playing to an empty room. They can feel it in the jacket she would never leave behind on a cold March day. Somewhere out there, Angelica is not okay. And the clock has already been running for a full day before anyone thought to start it. The search begins the way these searches always begin. Flyers, phone calls, friends fanning out across a city of 240,000 people, prayer circles on front lawns, a mother refusing to sleep. The leads are thin. There is almost nothing to pull on. And then a neighbor finds something in the street. A piece of a credit card, Angelica's credit card, snapped and dropped in the gutter beside his house. The neighbor is a young man named Corey French. He dated AJ back in middle school. They stayed friends. He lives just around the corner, and in a matter of days, he is set to ship out and join the army. Instead, he sits in an interrogation room for 12 hours. Police take it seriously because a broken credit card in a gutter is the first physical thing this case has produced. Corey talks. Corey cooperates. But the piece of plastic does not lead anywhere, and something else is already circling the edges of the investigation. Something that has decided Corey French is the answer. That something is Wesley Hadsell, Angelica's adoptive father. Wesley latches onto Corey with a certainty that has no evidence under it. In his mind, the credit card is a confession, the friendship is a motive, and a distraught father, he will say, cannot sit still while the man who took his daughter walks free. So he waits until Corey is gone one day, and he breaks into the house. For roughly 18 minutes, he tears the place apart. He rips through the trash cans. He peels back the carpet. He punches the family dog when the dog gets in his way. This is not a search. This is a man staging a scene. And then, deep in the couch, rolled up and tucked behind a cushion, he finds it. Angelica's jacket. The jacket she supposedly left behind. Now impossibly here, in the home of the man he has already decided is guilty. Wesley does not call the police first. He calls one of AJ's friends who has been helping the search. Guess what I found at Corey's house? Read that again. He announces the discovery before the authorities even know a crime scene exists. He points the world at Corey French and says, look here. The proof is in his living room, but the proof does not behave the way Wesley needs it to. Corey French takes a polygraph and passes it. He hands over his DNA without a fight. He has a rock-solid alibi for the day. Angelica vanished. And he stands there, bewildered, asking the only sane question in the room. What is her jacket doing in my house? Police ask themselves the same thing. And the most logical answer lands on Wesley like a dropped weight. The jacket did not help the investigation. It gave them nothing about where Angelica was. What it gave them was a direction. It turned their eyes away from a cleared young man and onto the stepfather who planted it. Wesley is charged with interfering. The frame does not hold. The frame becomes a fingerprint. And once police start looking at Wesley Hadsell, they cannot stop. His history opens like a rap sheet in a bad movie. It reaches back to 1996. Burglaries, grand larceny, forgery, assault, domestic violence, bank robbery, and two words that stand out and refuse to sit back down: rape, kidnapping. He has moved through the justice system for 2 decades and somehow never served more than 4 years at a stretch. This is the man who adopted Angelica in 2012, the man who called himself her father. And in the weeks before she disappeared, that fatherhood was already coming apart. Wesley had been using drugs, hard, spiraling into something erratic and frightening. Jennifer tried to hold him up. She held interventions. Nothing took. So in February, just weeks before AJ came home for spring break, Jennifer put him out of the house. He did not go far. He moved into a motel near the family home and stewed there, kicked out, using again, a man watching the family he married slip out of his hands. The prosecution will later put a shape to that motive. He was being removed from the house, from the marriage, from all of it. And Angelica, home from college, had learned about his drug use. She was uneasy around him. The daughter he claimed to love had become a witness to the man he actually was. Police search that motel room. Inside, they find bullets. For most people, ammunition is nothing. For a convicted felon, it is a cage. Wesley is arrested and charged with possession of ammunition after a felony, along with obstructing justice and breaking and entering. He does not deny those charges. What he denies, loudly, from behind bars, is the only thing that matters.
You're told these charges are not connected to Angelica's disappearance.
Yeah, Deanna, Wesley Hatzel was arrested on charges of obstructing justice, possessing ammunition after a felony, and breaking and entering. He doesn't deny any of those charges, but one thing he does deny from jail is that he knows anything about where Angelica could be tonight.
I do anything for my daughter, my wife, my kids, and they make it sound like I do anything to keep myself out of trouble.
Hatzel believes his daughter was taken, which is why he says he broke into the home of the person he believes took his daughter against her will March 2nd.
I couldn't sit a minute away from where my daughter may have been.
Hatzel admits to breaking in and spending roughly 18 minutes inside the home, tearing through trash cans, peeling back carpet, even punching the family's dog out of anger. A search of the couch uncovered Angelica's jacket, he says.
Found my daughter's jacket in his couch, rolled up behind the cushion.
It's my daughter, Angelica Hatzel. She's been missing since March 2nd. Here it is, I do believe it's March 25th. It's 23 days. No contact, no communication, no social media, no anything. She's still out there missing. And in light of recent events, with my name in the media, with what's going on here, I would implore people to put her back at the front lines of this. It does not matter what I have or have not done.
Listen to how he plays it. A wronged father, a man who would do anything for his daughter, twisted by the media into a man who would do anything to save himself. He admits the break-in. He admits the 18 minutes, the trash cans, the peeled carpet, the dog. He holds up the jacket like a trophy of his devotion, and he stands there, 23 days into the nightmare, and begs the public to keep his daughter on the front lines of the story. It does not matter what he has or has not done, he says. Put her first. It is a performance built for cameras, and the cameras keep coming because the family is still fighting for a happy ending nobody else can see anymore.
4 weeks and still no trace of missing teenager Angelica Hatzel.
But friends and family are not giving up hope, and tonight another show of support and prayers that she will be found.
And then we were talking on our 5 o'clock news earlier from an interview we did previously about how you guys are still strongly under the impression that AJ is out there, that she's alive. Are you still under that impression?
Yes, definitely.
And then what do you want people to know about Angelica that are at home right now that, a month later?
Just, there's a lot of support out here for her, and I hope to continue to see more support as, the days go, however long that may be, hopefully not too much longer. She's a great kid, and we just want her home.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And this is Andre, friend Andre, very close to the search.
4 weeks gone, no trace, and still they gather on the lawns and lift their voices and insist she is out there, alive, waiting to be found. A family friend named Andre speaks for all of them. She is a great kid. They just want her home. The hope in his voice is real, and it is unbearable, because we know the road this ends on, and they do not yet. But the investigators are no longer looking for a runaway. They are looking at a van. Wesley works for a plumbing company. He drives a company work van, and when police search it, the inside reads like a checklist for something you do not say out loud. A shovel, duct tape, black work gloves. A father does not need those things to find his daughter. A killer needs every one of them to hide her. Police do not stop at what is in the van. They ask where the van has been. Modern work vehicles carry a quiet witness in the dashboard, a tracker that logs every stop, every route, every minute. So they pull the records and send them off for analysis. For weeks, the van sits in evidence and says nothing. But it has already been somewhere. On the 3rd of March, the day after Angelica vanished, it left the city and drove almost an hour south, out past the edge of everything, to an abandoned house near the North Carolina border. The van remembers the way. The only question left is whether anyone will follow it there, and what will be waiting when they do. While Wesley Hatzel sits in a jail cell on the ammunition charge, The family clings to the last version of the story where their girl comes home, and the van in evidence keeps its silence. Then, in April, a month after she disappeared, the tracker gives up its secret. The analysis lands on a detective's desk and rewrites everything. On the 3rd of March, the day after Angelica was last seen alive, the work van did not stay in Norfolk. It drove south, almost an hour, out past the neat streets and the strip malls, out to where the roads go quiet and the trees close in, to an abandoned house near the North Carolina line in Southampton County. There is no plumbing job out there. There is no reason for that van to be there. Police drive the route the machine remembers. They pull up to the empty house and step out into the stillness, and they start to look around the property, behind the structure, into the tall grass and the low ground where things get hidden. And in a ditch behind the house, buried in the earth, they find her. Angelica Hadsell, 18 years old, home for spring break, 5 weeks in the ground, an hour from the bedroom where her laundry still waited to be folded. The music that played to an empty room has finally stopped. Her body carries its own testimony. Bruises across her face, more than one, the marks of hands or force. Her pants are pulled down, though time and exposure leave the question of assault without a clean answer. The first cause of death is listed in the blunt language of the morgue, homicidal violence. But the deeper truth comes later, from her blood. Heroin, not a trace, not a dose, 3 times the lethal amount, poured into the body of a girl with no history of drugs, a girl whose own hair, tested strand by strand, proves she had never used them. 3 times the amount it takes to kill, sit with that number. Nobody chasing a high needs 3 times a fatal dose. That is not a mistake. That is not an accident of addiction. That is a quantity chosen to guarantee an outcome. That is a killing dressed up as an overdose, and dressed badly. And where is Wesley Hadsell when his stepdaughter comes out of the ground? He is already in jail, on the bullets, untouchable to the news, but not to the detectives who walk in with a simple question. Your work van was right beside the place we found her body. Explain that. His answer is a shrug wearing a suit. He happened to be out there. For a job. A coincidence. He does not know how she ended up at that house. He does not know what any of the coincidences mean. The van placed him at the grave the day after she vanished, and the best he offers is that the world is a strange place where things simply happen to line up around him. His story about that day was already crumbling. He had claimed he met Angelica at a gas station to slip her a couple $100, a broke college kid getting a hand from her dad. But the gas station cameras tell a different story. There is no sign of them where he said they were. The meeting he built his timeline on does not exist on tape. What does exist on tape is Wesley, in Southampton County, caught by an ATM security camera in the same remote corner where his daughter would be found. The same county, the day after she disappeared, miles from any reason to be there. An interviewer puts the noose of logic around him gently and lets him feel it tighten.
So if they were to track your GPS, would they find that you were near that home?
If they track, I gave them my phone voluntarily too. So I don't know where that home was in relation to where I worked at.
So you were in the same county where her body was found.
Correct.
The day after she disappeared.
Correct.
How do you think that looks?
It doesn't look.
Hear him work. Asked whether his phone GPS would place him near that house, he does not answer the question. He pivots. He gave them his phone voluntarily. He does not know where that house sits in relation to where he worked. Then comes the quiet, patient blade. You were in the same county where her body was found, the day after she disappeared. Correct. How do you think that looks? And for one honest moment, the performance drops, and the man who always has a speech simply says, "It doesn't look." He cannot even finish the sentence, because there is no way to finish it. So he builds a new wall. If the van betrays him, the van must have been used against him. He explains from his cell that the GPS unit is detachable, removable. Somebody else, he says, could have pulled it out, driven it to where the body lay, and slotted it back into his van to frame him. An invisible enemy engineering the electronics of a pumping vehicle to paint a father as a killer. The coincidences pile up, and he has an answer for every single one, and the answers never touch each other. It was a coincidence. It was a setup. He does not know. Someone moved the tracker. He was there for a job. Each excuse survives only in isolation. Put them in the same room, and they strangle one another. And through all of it, one instinct never leaves him: the need to control the story of who Angelica was.
And I'm not going to sit here and have my daughter's name dragged through the mud any kind of way. She did not use drugs. She was murdered. As sure as I sit here today, I am convicted in my heart that my daughter was murdered. She didn't do this to herself. And no one's ever going to make me believe that. And I will defend her until my last breath. Because as I said before, I'm her voice. I am convicted.
Watch what he defends and what he never quite does. He will not let anyone drag his daughter's name through the mud. She did not use drugs. She was murdered. As sure as he sits there, convicted in his heart, he says, she did not do this to herself. He calls himself her voice. He swears he will defend her to his last breath. It is thunderous. It is convincing. And it is strange, because at this point in the story, no one has accused her of anything. No one has said she did it to herself. He is arguing against a charge that only exists inside his own head, defending her from an idea he seems to already know is coming. He keeps circling the same drain, protesting things nobody asked about.
I have nothing to hide as far as I didn't hurt my daughter. I didn't help her get away from the house or help her get to Southampton. I have no knowledge of it.
He has nothing to hide, he says. He did not hurt his daughter. He did not help her get away from the house. He did not help her get to Southampton. Southampton, the county where she was buried. The word slips out of him like a splinter, working its way to the surface, a place he should have no reason to name, folded into a denial no one requested. And then, the tell that sits at the center of this whole case?
I swear to you that I didn't hurt my daughter. I don't know who did, and if I did, I wouldn't protect them.
He swears he did not hurt his daughter. He does not know who did. And then he adds the line that hangs in the air long after he says it. And if I did, I wouldn't protect him. If I did, a father searching for justice does not leave that door open. A father wants the world to burn to find the person who killed his child. But Wesley Hadsell, sworn to be her voice, quietly reserves the right to shield the killer if he happened to know him. It is the smallest word, if, and it carries the whole weight of what the evidence already shows. The van drove the road. The camera caught him in the county. The blood carried a dose no addict would choose. And the man who searched the loudest keeps naming places and defending against accusations that live only in the mind of someone who already knows how the story ends. Angelica is out of the ground now. The coincidences have run out of room to hide. All that is left is a courtroom. Justice does not come quickly. It almost does not come at all. In November of 2018, 3.5 years after Angelica's death, Wesley Hadsell is finally charged with her murder. The wait had its own cruelty. A family suspended for years between a body in the ground and a name on an indictment. Then, in 2020, he goes on trial. And on the second day, it collapses. A mistrial. The prosecution and the defense cannot agree on how much of Wesley's long, ugly criminal history the jury is allowed to see and hear. The whole thing stops before it can start, and the family is sent home to wait all over again. The second trial begins in January of 2022. This time it holds, and the two sides walk in with two completely different stories about how an 18-year-old ended up dead in a ditch. The prosecution lays it out cold. On the morning of the 2nd of March, Angelica is home, alive, ordinary. She is playing music. She is folding laundry. The most normal morning in the world. And into that morning walks the man being pushed out of her family. He was kicked out of the house. He was back on drugs. Soon he would be gone for good, and he wanted something from the family he was losing. So he takes her. He holds her for at least a day. He assaults her, and then he holds her down and injects her with a lethal flood of heroin, 3 times what it takes to kill, and drives her body south to a place no one would think to look. To sell the plan, they call his own drug dealer to the stand, testifying in exchange for immunity on his own charges, and the dealer tells them yes. He sold Wesley cocaine and heroin on the 3rd of March, the day after Angelica vanished. The chemistry of her death traced back to the hand that bought it. Then the jacket clicks into place. Not a clue Corey French left behind. A prop Wesley planted, breaking into an innocent man's home to roll a dead girl's jacket into a couch cushion and point the world at a friend who passed a polygraph and shipped off toward the army. Against all of that, the defense offers a single, brittle story. Angelica was depressed. She had broken up with her boyfriend, she was overwhelmed, and she did this to herself. But the whole room has already heard Wesley say the opposite, in his own voice, on camera, for months. She did not use drugs, she was murdered. She did not do this to herself. No one is ever going to make him believe that. He swore, and he will defend her to his last breath. His own defense now asks the jury to believe the exact thing he spent years screaming against. The father who appointed himself her voice is contradicted by the lawyers standing beside him, and the evidence buries the theory. Angelica had no history of drugs. The tests of her hair prove she never used them. A happy, healthy freshman does not accidentally find 3 times a lethal dose of heroin and inject it alone in an abandoned house an hour from home, then bury herself in a ditch behind it. It is a defense with nothing under it, and the jury feels the same weightlessness. They are out for less than 1 hour. The courtroom is warned before the words come. The moment is heavy enough that the judge steadies the room in advance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the gallery, we will have no, I understand this is a difficult case for lots of folks here. We will have no outbursts. We will have no demonstrations from anybody in the courtroom on the reading of the verdict.
Would you please stand? On the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant, Wesley Paul Hatzel, guilty as charged in the indictment. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this your verdict, and so say you all?
No outbursts, he tells the gallery. No demonstrations. He knows this is a hard day for a great many people packed into those benches. And then the room rises, and the charge is read aloud. First-degree murder, and the answer comes back in the flat and final language of the law. On the charge of first-degree murder, the jury finds the defendant, Wesley Paul Hatzel, guilty as charged in the indictment. Guilty. The word lands and does not bounce, and the judge turns to the 12 who decided it. Is this your verdict? And so say you all. So say they all. On the 4th of April, 2022, Wesley Hatzel is sentenced to life in prison. The road that began with music in an empty house ends with a cell door and no key, but he does not go quietly. He never does.
Wesley Hatzel sits in a yellow jumpsuit at the Tidewater Regional Jail, staring down the very real possibility this is how he'll spend the rest of his days.
Did you kill AJ?
No, ma'am.
The jury says he did.
What went through your mind? What did that moment feel like? Give us some insight.
I wasn't going to break down. I'm not going to accept that verdict.
There was no smoking gun in this case. The prosecution never even proved how Hatzel gave AJ the heroin that killed her. The most damning evidence against him is that police found AJ's body by following the GPS history from his work van to an abandoned home in Southampton County.
How did AJ's body get behind that house?
I don't know. I tell you this, I was never behind that house.
So are you saying you're set up?
I mean, bottom line is there's other things at play here that I can't speak on because I don't know. I would not have put my daughter out there like trash in someone's backyard and left her there like that.
Even now, in a yellow jumpsuit at the Tidewater Regional Jail, staring down the rest of his life behind concrete, he holds the pose. Did you kill AJ? No, ma'am. The jury says he did. He was not going to break down. He is not going to accept the verdict. There was no smoking gun, he insists. They never proved how he gave her the heroin, and then he tells the truth without meaning to. The most damning thing in the case, he admits, is that police found her body by following the GPS from his work van to that abandoned home. How did she get behind that house? I don't know. I was never behind that house. Is he saying he was set up? There are other things at play, he says. Things he cannot speak on, because he does not know. And then, the line that condemns him out of his own mouth. He would not have put his daughter out there, trashing someone's backyard, and left her there like that. A man protesting his innocence describes exactly how she was found, and frames his objection not around whether it happened, but around how it was done. Not, I could never hurt her, but I would not have left her like that. Even his denials are a critique of the execution. The jury did not need him to confess. The van confessed, the blood confessed, the county confessed, the little word if confessed. And 12 people, in under an hour, heard all of it. We will never know every moment of what happened between Wesley Hatzel and the girl he called his daughter. Some doors close for good when the ground closes over them. He still pleads not guilty. He still promises to appeal. He still insists that he alone knows he is innocent, and that he will work to prove it, and that somewhere out there the real answer is being kept from him. But a man is more than the story he tells about himself. He is the shape of what he has already done. 2 decades of it. Burglary and forgery and assault, and the 2 words that always circle back, kidnapping and worse. History is instructive, and his history was pointing at this ending long before Angelica ever came home for spring break. Strip away the performance, strip away the vigils he crashed and the cameras he courted and the jacket he waved like a flag. What remains is a girl of 18 who was folding laundry on an ordinary Monday, who was double majoring in a subject she loved, who played softball and soccer and field hockey, who was 3 hours away building a life and calling it her own. She reached for the next shirt in the basket and never picked it up. Her mother called it a nightmare she kept waiting to wake up from. There was no waking. There was only the long walk to a courtroom and a verdict read in a hushed room, and a single word that finally answered the question that hung over everything from the first empty afternoon. Was it AJ on the other end of that phone? No. It never was. It was the man who took her voice. And in the end, the evidence he could not talk his way around gave it back to her. Loud enough to fill a courtroom, loud enough to close a cell door, loud enough to be heard over the music that once played to an empty house. Angelica Hadsell was 18 years old, and she was loved. Cortland, Mississippi. A cold night in December, 7:30 in the evening. A camera catches her for one short moment, 19 years old. She steps away from a driveway and into the dark. She is going home. That is all she wants. To go home. She does not look afraid. Why would she? The night is quiet. The road is empty. The man she has been texting for weeks is somewhere close behind her. His name is Quentin Tellis, 27 years old. He carries a past the town does not see when it looks at his face. Easy on the surface, something harder underneath. 40 minutes from now, this road will be on fire. 40 minutes from now, she will be walking through a ditch, burned almost past knowing, giving a name to a stranger who kneels beside her. She knows none of that yet. She just wants to get home. Hold that picture. A girl stepping into the dark, certain she has hours left, days left, years left. She has 40 minutes. 2 questions will outlive her. What did she truly say at the end? And why? Twice. Could 12 people not agree on who put her on that road? This is the story of the final hours of a young woman who deserved so much more. Panola County, Mississippi, Saturday, December 6th, 2014, a little after 8 in the evening. The land out here is flat and dark. Tree farms, ditches, long stretches of road with nothing on either side, no streetlights, no houses for a mile. The kind of place people drive through, not to. A motorist comes over a rise on Heron Road. Headlights sweep the shoulder. Something is moving in the ditch. It is a person, upright, staggering, no clothes, skin blackened and peeling, hair burned down to nothing. Behind the figure, a car sits in the tree line, fully engulfed, flames throwing orange across the field. The driver slams the brakes, grabs a phone, calls 911. First responders are close. A volunteer fire crew rolls up within minutes. One firefighter sees a shape at the edge of the light, 30, 40 feet out. It comes closer. He realizes it is a woman. He went to school with the girl who lives near here. He looks straight at her and cannot tell who she is. 98% of her body is burned. The fire was hot enough to blind her. Gasoline had been poured over her, down her throat, up her nose. And still, she is standing. Still, she is walking. Still, she is trying to speak. They wrap her in a blanket. A responder gives up his turnout jacket to cover her. They lower her to the ground near the fire truck. And one of them does the only thing left to do for a person this far gone. He talks to her. He keeps her with him. He asks her questions to keep her breathing. He asks who did this.
What went from a car fire in a tree farm to a vehicle on fire with a female severely burned and in the road as well.
And what did you find upon your arrival at the scene?
I found Jessica standing initially, and they, I told them as the EMR, we needed to get a blanket around her. They told me somebody's going for a blanket. I went for my turnout jacket. We put the blanket around her, and I put my turnout jacket over as we laid her down near the fire truck.
Describe for the jury the assessment that you were making of Jessica and what you observed about her when you first began to look at her?
Walking on the scene, she was standing. I could see, the back, her back, high first-degree burn, some second. Laying her down whenever I started to talk to her. Because EMR, there's not a whole lot that could have been done from my standpoint. Talking was the best way to judge airways, breathing, and things like that, as well as comfort her. I asked her, I said, baby girl, who done this to you?
Did she respond?
Yes, sir.
And what did she say?
She said, Eric.
And how would you describe the distress that she was in?
She was a fighter. She was trying to answer questions. She was trying to tell us, who she was. Pretty outstanding if you ask me.
Hold on that answer. It matters more than anything else in this case, and it will not stay simple. She is loaded into an ambulance, airlifted to a hospital in Memphis. Doctors work through the night. Her mother is there. Her family gathers in a waiting room, the way families do, saying the small, useless prayers people say when there is nothing else to hold. She dies the next day, 19 years old, her mother's hand in hers. Now the town wakes up to what has happened in its own backyard. By Sunday afternoon, the scene is a wound in the road, charred grass, tire marks, crime tape strung between the pines. Neighbors drive slow past the spot and cannot make sense of it. An uncle steps out of his truck, looks at the black patch of earth, and can barely speak. He says he had to see it. He does not know why. He just had to. The local news arrives.
A 19-year-old woman doused in lighter fluid and then set on fire. Her family distraught as investigators try to put the tragedy aside and find the people responsible. WMC Action News 5's Lauren Squires has the story.
The car is being stored here at the Panola County Jail in this lot. The car with the blue tarp over the top. It will be used as evidence when someone is arrested. Meantime, friends and family are still trying to cope with the loss of 19-year-old Jessica Chambers. Charred grass, tire marks, and crime tape lined the road in Cortland, Mississippi Sunday afternoon.
She was a good girl. She was.
The aftermath of a deadly scene Saturday night after Panola County deputies were called to a burning car. They found 19-year-old Jessica Chambers burned too. She was taken to Regional 1 in Memphis, where she later died. The Panola County DA confirms that Chambers' father was an employee in the sheriff's department. Sunday afternoon, her uncle stopped by the scene shortly after investigators left. He and so many others are still trying to understand what happened.
But I had to see it.
He was relatively speechless and says family members are having a hard time. According to investigators, Chambers may have been doused in gasoline and then set on fire. These are photos of her car after it was towed from the scene.
People do bad things to good people.
Meantime, people who live in the small communities of Panola County are still trying to understand what happened and why.
I never dreamed anything like that would happen around here.
I don't know how to process it, really, to tell you the truth.
All the while, hoping and praying investigators find out who committed this horrible crime.
They don't gotta get them.
Whoever did this will get caught, and they'll go to jail for it.
Let that sit for a moment. A community that never dreamed of anything like this. A promise from the people who loved her that whoever did this will be found. But here is the first hard truth of this case. Nobody saw it happen. No confession. No weapon in the usual sense. The weapon was fire, and fire erases. It took her fingerprints. It took her face. It took the evidence off her own body. What it could not take was the timeline. Investigators start with the last ordinary hours of her life, because ordinary is where the answers hide. That morning, she is with friends. In the afternoon, she goes home to her mother's house and lies down for a nap. Then a text comes in. She tells her mother she is going out to grab something to eat and clean out her car. She leaves around 5 in the evening. At 5:30, a gas station camera catches her. She fills the tank, $14 of fuel. She is calm. She is alone. She is 1 hour and a half from the end of her life, and she does not know it. Her phone keeps a record she cannot see. It pings a tower near Batesville around 6. Then it turns back toward Cortland by 6:30. What she was doing in that half hour, nobody can say for certain. At 6:45, she calls her mother. Her mother notices something small and wrong. The line is too quiet. No music. No laughing in the background. Just quiet. That is the last time her mother hears her voice. By 7:30, that same phone is moving toward the dark stretch of Heron Road, toward the tree line, toward the fire that is coming. 40 minutes later, a stranger's headlights find her in the ditch. Somewhere in those missing minutes, a 19-year-old girl was doused in gasoline and set alight while she was still alive enough to walk out of it. Who was she with? That becomes the whole case. Panola County. The days after, the pressure builds fast. A girl burned alive on a public road is not a case a small county can sit on. The father worked for the sheriff's office. Everyone knows someone who knew her, and the fear underneath the grief is simple and awful. If it can happen to her, on that road, in that town, it can happen to anyone. So they cast wide. Investigators interview roughly 150 people. A reward climbs to $54,000. Every lead gets chased. Start with the name she gave. The responder heard Eric. Another thought it might have been Derek. So detectives run it down the obvious way. Nearly every man in the area named Eric or Derek is questioned. One by one, ruled out. Her boyfriend is questioned too. He is cleared fast. He was in jail the night she died. A tighter alibi does not exist. The defense will later build its whole house on that name. Hold that thread, it comes back. Meanwhile, the phone tells a colder story than any witness could. In the weeks before she died, one number appears again and again in her messages. A man she had known only a few weeks. Someone she was, by some accounts, briefly and casually involved with. His name is Quentin Tellis. He is 27. He has a record: burglary, drug possession, fleeing from police. And he is the last person to text her before she dies. Detectives bring him in. They want the simple thing. Where were you? When? And this is where a straight line should have formed. Instead, it bends, again and again. His first account is clean and easy. He was with her until 7. Then a friend picked him up, and the two of them spent the night together. A friend called Big Mike. Detectives go find Big Mike. Big Mike was in Nashville, at a football game, hundreds of miles away, ticketed, placed, confirmed. He was nowhere near Tellis that night. The first story is gone. So a second story arrives. Now he says she picked him up. They drove to a Taco Bell in Batesville. They came back and sat in his driveway listening to music, and she left at 7, half an hour before the fire. But her phone does not agree with him. Neither does a gas station camera next to his home. Both put her leaving closer to 7:30, then driving straight toward the wooded stretch where she is found burning. 2 stories, 2 collapses, and a pattern that makes an investigator's neck prickle. Innocent people usually have one version of a night, and they keep it. The version keeps changing here. Then the physical evidence starts to line up behind the timeline. Her car keys are found along the road, not random. They sit on a path that runs between the crime scene and the home of Tellis's own sister. A sample of his DNA is taken. It matches DNA pulled from those keys. Surveillance footage adds more. A vehicle believed to be his sister's stops briefly at his home around 7:50, then heads toward the crime scene. The same footage shows something a guilty man might do and an innocent man rarely would. He changed his clothes 3 separate times that day, and his phone hides the loudest detail of all. Within an hour of her death, every message between them is gone. Wiped. He had been in near constant contact with her for days. Then, right as she is dying in a Memphis hospital, he deletes it all and stops checking on her completely. Investigators recover the deleted messages anyway. What they find turns the temperature of the whole case. In the week before she died, he asked her for sex over and over. Each time, she told him no. On the day she died, she told him no 4 times. Prosecutors would later build their theory on that refusal. In their telling, the fire was not the beginning. It was the cover. Here is how the state says it happened. And I want to be clear that this is the prosecution's account, not a proven fact, because 2 juries never accepted it. They say the 2 of them are parked in his driveway. He pushes for sex. She refuses again. Something in him snaps. They say he chokes her until she goes limp, until he believes she is gone. They say he drives her car out to the dark tree line to put distance between himself and the body. He runs on foot to his sister's home. He takes a vehicle. He grabs gasoline. He comes back to her car and sets it on fire with her inside, thinking she is already dead. But she is not dead, and she does not stay in the car. She walks out of it, burning, and she gives a name to the first person who reaches her. That is the state's story. The defense has a very different one, and we will get there. First, the detail that makes this case truly cold. Because Jessica Chambers is not the only young woman connected to this man. Rewind to the summer after her death, July 2015, Monroe, Louisiana. A 34-year-old exchange student from Taiwan, studying at the University of Louisiana at Monroe, goes missing. Her name is rendered a dozen ways in the record, but she was a real person with a real family an ocean away who expected her home. Her body is found 10 days later, inside her own apartment, stabbed many times. Her debit card is gone. Soon after, someone calls the bank's customer service line and tries to access the account balance and the personal identification number on that card. The phone that made the call traces back to Quentin Tellis. He admits using the card. He denies the killing. He pleads not guilty to the murder. That case gets put on hold, waiting in line behind Jessica. And a neighbor remembers something. A man who gave her a creepy feeling, parked outside. She wrote down a license plate. That plate leads back to the same man. Another neighbor heard arguing inside the apartment in the days before the student vanished. 2 young women, 2 states, one name at the center of both. By February 2016, a grand jury indicts Quentin Tellis for the capital murder of Jessica Chambers. Her family lets themselves feel the first thin edge of relief. But relief in this case is always false relief. Because before any trial, detectives sit Tellis down one more time. They lay it all out for him. The phone records, the location data, the dots on a map that put the two of them together, out where there is nothing, at the exact wrong time. They are not shouting. They are almost gentle. They are giving him every chance to explain the one thing he cannot explain.
See, remember her little dots are all right there? That's where you're at. That's where your phone is. I promise you.
And what does it? They go.
March 6/17. You see that?
Okay.
You see that line right there?
It's 6/17 where I'm at.
You're right there with Jessica. I promise
what?
you.
You know what that is? I want to believe you. As a person, man to man, I want to believe you. But because of everything we know, I'm sorry, man. I just don't. I want to believe you.
I done told the truth.
How do you explain y'all being together at 7:55 p.m. down there where there's nothing else where you know where she was burned, don't you? What else is down there, Quinn? There ain't nothing else. There ain't no houses, there ain't no nothing, man. There ain't nothing down there where that girl was found. That's it. You know, and if there was something close that you could say, oh yeah, but I was at his house, they'd give you an out. But there ain't no house down there, man. There ain't no house within a mile of where she was burned, Quinn. Unless you stand, you know, I guess you come off and say, I took a ride on did you take a ride on your motorcycle and end up down there close? That'd be the only, there's got to be a reasonable explanation. If you weren't with her, you'd be close. But because I'm telling you what the records say, it's not what I say or Paul says. It's those dang cell phone records that put y'all's phones close together. And there's just nothing down there. It just ain't nothing else down there.
Listen to what he does not say. Listen to the silence where an alibi should be. And then ask yourself the question the whole county is about to spend 2 years fighting over. If the map is right, and the timeline is right, and the DNA is right, why would a jury still hesitate? The answer is a single dying word, spoken by a girl with a burned mouth, and the terrible possibility that everyone heard it wrong. October 2016, Batesville, Mississippi. The first trial begins. The courthouse fills early. On one side sits a family that has waited almost 2 years to hear the word guilty. On the other sits a young man who has said, from the first interview to the last, that he did not do this. Between them sits a jury of 12 people who were not on that road, who never smelled the smoke, who must now decide what happened in the dark from paper, from maps, from the memory of a dying girl. The state lays out the timeline like a set of dominoes. The gas station at 5:30, the tower pings, the quiet phone call to her mother, the drive toward the tree line at 7:30, the keys on the path to his sister's house, The DNA, the deleted messages, the 4 refusals on the last day of her life. It is a strong picture. But the whole case, in the end, hangs on one sentence spoken through a ruined mouth. The prosecution calls the first responder, the man who knelt beside her, the man who gave up his jacket and lowered her to the ground and kept her talking so she would keep breathing. He is asked to tell the jury what he found and what he heard. His testimony is the emotional center of the entire trial. A grown man, years later, describing the worst night of his life in plain, halting words. He tells them she was still standing when he arrived. He tells them she was a fighter. He tells them she was trying to answer, trying to tell them who she was, even as her body failed. And he tells them the name he heard when he asked who did this. He heard Eric. Sit with the weight of that, because the defense will pick up that single word and turn it into a wall the state has to climb. The defense theory is clean and human and hard to shake. A dying girl named her killer. She said Eric. She may have said Derek. And the man on trial is named neither. His name is Quentin. So the defense says the state has the wrong man, and a young woman used her final breath to tell everyone exactly who to look for, and no one listened. They have more than the word. Quentin Tellis had told police early on that a registered sex offender named Derek was stalking Jessica. Some residents claim to have seen the two of them together. It is the kind of thread that, once pulled, makes a juror wonder. So the state pulls back. Detectives ran the Derek lead into the ground. He had an alibi. He was home. They interviewed him more than once and placed him there. He is not the answer. But the name still hangs in the air. Eric. Derek. Not Quentin. How do you convict a man the victim herself seemed to name someone else? The prosecution's answer is chilling in its logic. Consider her mouth. The fire poured down her throat and up her nose. Her lips were burned. Her tongue was swollen. Her cheeks were gone. Experts testify that a person with those injuries could not shape sounds normally. There is proof of it built into the night itself. When she was asked her own name, she could not say Chambers. It came out wrong. It came out as something close, but broken. So the state asks the jury to imagine the letter that a burned mouth cannot make, the hard sound at the front of the tongue. And they ask, what if she was not saying Eric at all? What if she was trying to say the name of the man she had been texting for weeks? What if she was trying to say Tellis, and a ruined mouth turned it into something that sounded like Eric? It is either the key that unlocks the whole case, or it is a prosecution so certain of its suspect that it will reshape a dying girl's last word to fit him. The jury has to decide which, and there is no way to be sure. That is the horror at the heart of this trial. The one witness who knew the truth is gone, and she left behind a word that two sides can read two ways. There is one more quiet fact the state puts in front of them. In the 30 days before her death, Jessica did not call or text anyone named Eric or Derek. Not once. The only man lighting up her phone in those final weeks was the man in the defendant's chair. By November 2016, the arguments are done. The jury goes out, the family waits, the town waits, and then the verdict comes back. And this is where the case stops behaving like a trial and starts behaving like a nightmare. The jury returns. The verdict is read, not guilty. For one suspended moment, it is over. The wrong way, but over. You can feel the room tilt, and then the judge does the careful, ordinary thing a judge is supposed to do. He asks to confirm that the decision was unanimous. He does not want to know what they decided. He only needs to know that all 12 agreed on it.
I've been told that the jury's reached a verdict. Is that correct? Did you all select a foreman? All right, sir. Let's see. Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I don't need to know what your verdict was, but I just need to know, did all 12 jurors agree on that verdict?
Yes, sir, we did.
All right. Would you hand the verdict, please, to the court, to the clerk? Excuse me.
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
You said we all agreed on that verdict. We didn't.
All 12. The verdict has to be unanimous. So all 12 did not agree on the verdict? Is that what you're telling me, sir?
Yeah, I can agree he was in.
All right. I'd ask you to step back in the jury room, please. Pass the verdict, please, to the clerk that you have in your hand. Give them the jury instruction back.
Let that unravel in real time, the way it did in that courtroom. The foreman says yes. Then, almost in the same breath, says no, says they did not all agree. The judge, steady, asks again, because the law allows nothing less than all 12. He says it plainly. The verdict has to be unanimous. He asks if the man is telling him that all 12 did not agree, and it comes apart completely. What was read as not guilty was never a real verdict at all. Some of the jurors had misunderstood the instructions. Some of them believed they had voted guilty. 12 people, one form, and no agreement underneath it. The judge sends them back into the jury room to try again. Picture the family in those minutes. They have just heard their daughter's killer walk free, and then heard that he has not. And now they must sit in the same hard bench and wait to learn which of those two worlds they live in. There is no crueler place to stand than between a verdict and its correction. An hour passes. The jury comes back one last time, and they tell the judge the truth of where they are. They cannot agree. They are deadlocked. 12 people who heard the same evidence cannot get to the same answer. A mistrial is declared. Nothing is decided. Nothing is finished. After 2 years, after 150 interviews, after the maps and the DNA and the deleted messages and the burned girl's final word, the case simply resets to zero. The family walks out with no verdict at all, just the promise that they will have to do this again. September 2018, same case, second trial. The family walks back into a courtroom to relive the worst thing that ever happened to them. From the beginning, one more time. They sit through the timeline again. The gas station, the tower pings, the quiet phone call, the keys on the path. They listen to the first responder describe her last minutes again. They hear the word Eric again, and the argument about a burned mouth again. Every wound reopened, in order, in public. And then, after all of it, the second jury does exactly what the first one did. They cannot agree. A second mistrial is declared. 2 trials, 2 juries, 2 deadlocks. Not an acquittal, not a conviction. Twice, 12 strangers looked at the same evidence and could not, together, say what happened on that road. Whatever else this case is, it is a mirror held up to certainty itself, and the reflection keeps coming back split down the middle. Now the story leaves Mississippi and turns west, because the man at the center of it is wanted somewhere else.
Tried twice for the murder of Jessica Chambers, but both trials ended in a hung jury. And that was, and has, many wondering if Quentin Tellis will be tried for a third time. Local 24 News reporter Tish Clarke live in the studio now with new information from the district attorney on this very case. Tish.
Hi, Katina. Well, Quentin Tellis will go back to Monroe, Louisiana sometime this week. He'll face murder charges down there for killing a college exchange student in July 2015. Investigators say the student was tortured before she was stabbed nearly 30 times in her apartment. Tellis denies killing the student. However, he pleaded guilty to using her debit card and was sentenced to 10 years as a habitual offender. Tellis was then extradited here to Mississippi to face murder charges in the Jessica Chambers case. As for the Chambers case, District Attorney John Champion says he might take Tellis to trial a third time, but he wants to let emotions simmer down a little bit in Panola County, and he wants to talk to the Chambers family before making any decisions.
Follow where that reporting leads, because it widens the whole picture. Quentin Tellis is sent back to Monroe, Louisiana. Waiting for him there is the second case. The 34-year-old exchange student from Taiwan, stabbed many times in her own apartment, her debit card used by his phone. He denies that killing too. He pleaded guilty only to using her card, and for that he is sentenced to 10 years as a habitual offender. So the same man now stands accused in the deaths of 2 young women in 2 states and has been convicted of killing neither. He maintains his innocence in both. Back in Panola County, the district attorney faces a decision that would break most people. Try Quentin Tellis a third time for Jessica, or let it go. He does not rush it. He says he wants to let emotions settle. He says he wants to talk to the family before he decides anything. Because a third trial means asking a grieving mother and father to sit through the fire, and the timeline, and the ruined final word, for a third time, with no guarantee it ends any differently than the first 2. Think about what that choice costs. Push forward, and you risk a third deadlock, a third year of reopened grief, a third courtroom full of the same unbearable evidence. Walk away, and the road stays dark forever. No name, no answer. A daughter burned alive, and a file marked unresolved. For the family, there is no clean version of this. Justice, they were told, does not come until it is finished, and it is not finished. It just keeps not finishing. Return, one last time, to that stretch of Heron Road. Flat land, tree line, a ditch beside a county highway where a 19-year-old girl walked out of a fire that should have killed her instantly and lived long enough to try to tell the world who did it. That is the image that outlasts everything else in this case. Not the verdicts, because there were none. Not the confession, because there never was one. What lasts is the picture of a young woman with 98% of her body burned, blind, unable to say her own name correctly, and still standing, still walking, still trying to answer the one question that mattered. She was a fighter to the end. The man who knelt beside her said so, and he had no reason to lie. In the worst minutes a human being can face, she was not thinking of herself. She was trying to tell them who she was and who had done this, so that someone could be held to account. The tragedy is that her courage collided with the cruelty of the fire itself. It took her face, it took her fingerprints, it took the clean version of her final word, and it left behind a sound that could be read as a stranger's name or as her killer's name. And no living person can say for certain which she meant. She did everything right in those last minutes. The fire made sure it was not enough. 2 families are left inside this story, waiting. In Mississippi, a mother and father who buried a daughter and then watched 2 juries fail to name the reason why. An ocean away, in Taiwan, another family who sent a young woman to America to study and received her back as a case file, a debit card, a set of wounds. Both families are still standing where the road went dark, waiting for an answer that the courts have not been able to give them. And a man sits at the center of it, who has never been convicted of either killing, who says he did neither, and who the law, twice, could not condemn. That is where this case rests. Not on a triumphant verdict, not on a killer led away in chains. It rests on a single dying word, a burned mouth, and 12 people, twice over, who could not agree on what they heard. Somewhere in Panola County, the grass has grown back over the black patch of earth by the road. The crime tape is long gone. The cars drive through, not to, the way they always did. And the question she tried to answer with her last breath is still hanging in the quiet air above that ditch, unanswered, waiting for anyone who is still willing to listen. Whoever did this, her uncle said, standing at the scene, will get caught and they will go to jail for it. The family is still waiting for that day.